think, by looking back on the Olympics, which had the closing ceremony, of course, at the Stade de France yesterday in Paris. And we're going to look back on some of our favourite moments. And let's have some of yours as well to mention in this final part. Fraser and Tom still with me. And KT has joined us as well. Evening, KT. How are you?
Good evening. Absolutely fine. Thank you very much.
Excellent. Well, listen, we'll go through some of our favourite moments in just a sec. Let me just go to Fraser first, just to round up the Pembrokeshire interest, because we, of course, spoke about Jazz Joyce early on in the tournament, didn't we? Going out in the quarterfinals. Disappointing end for Jazz, who's been a brilliant Olympian. But all eyes on the water last Wednesday, wasn't it, for Micky Beckett from Solva?
And cruel luck for him, really. The sailing had been disrupted by several races being postponed or actually cancelled, races 9 and 10. So he went into the final medal race in 4th position, and the highest he could have got was a silver medal, actually. And he seemed to be producing, didn't he? The race was initially delayed. He was odds on for a silver medal, and in the dying minutes that they scrapped the race because the wind had died, which does happen in sailing. It's part of sport, but it was so cruel. And when it started again, he obviously picked up a couple of time penalties, and he fell, I think, to 5th or 6th overall and missed out on a medal. And he'd be devastated with that. I think, people say participating in the Olympic Games is an achievement itself. Of course it is. It's way beyond what Eddie gets for done his way beyond wildest dreams in that sense. But he is also, it's all. I think it would be almost not demeaning, but patronising to say that he'd just be happy to be there. He was a World Championship silver medalist. He was ranked 2nd going in, and he had a silver medal in his grasp. And unfortunately, fate played a cruel hand. So, he can take pride at getting there, but he'll be desperately disappointed as well, and you can understand that.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. A phenomenal effort, but it will hurt. There's no doubt about it. And sailing, like I said in the last part, sailing is a hard sport to watch live, because we were shouting at the TV as we all were, cheering him on, and it looked like he was heading for that medal. And then, as you say, a cruel twist of fate. And you can't really pick it up very easily that wind speeds are dropping when you're watching at home when you're supposed to be working. You have to rely on the commentators, and they give you that information. So yeah, brilliant effort for Micky, and I'm sure we'll try and catch up with him, because he's been on this show before. So we'll try and catch up with him and find out more about his Olympic experience. Let's get some of your favourite Olympic moments. Let's go to Katie first in the studio in Haverfordwest. Hiya, Katie.
Hiya. Well, you end up watching sports in the Olympics that you never normally watch, don't you?
Yeah.
I mean, it was just exhilarating, the stuff I caught up on. I mean, that new event, which is the kayak cross, where they battle out against each other. Yeah. My goodness, that was cutthroat stuff, wasn't it? And our guy got a silver, I do believe. Mm-hmm. He was fantastic. And for me, one of the great highlights was the wonderful 800 meters run by Keely Hodgkinson. She made it look easy. We're so used to the Brits battling to try and win a medal. She just made it look comfortable. Yeah. I was so impressed with that. And of course, the golf, well, that's my game. So, I mean, what can you say about Scotty Scheffler? He's come back in 29 blows to win it by a shot from Tommy Fleetwood. Unbelievable. 62 in the last round.
We should ask you about the golf, actually, Katie, and we'll come to Fraser's favourite moments in a sec as well. But I felt it played a big part once again in the programme. It seems to have settled into the Olympics now. And do you feel like the players are starting to take it that bit more seriously now as well?
Well, yeah, when you look at the calibre of people who actually competed, it means they take it seriously as well. I mean, in the past, they may not have bothered almost, thinking that it was like not a second-rate event, but it's not their normal thing. But you could see by Scheffler's expression on his face, and particularly Lydia Ko, wonderful winner of the ladies' event, it suddenly gets to them when they get out there and think, hey, this is really great. And they're almost overcome with the moment, which for these seasoned professionals is quite something. So, yeah. It is good. We've gone past those days of, they're professionals, they shouldn't be in the Olympics. That's all gone these days, as we know.
Yeah,
that's old hat now. So you've just got the best in the world competing for Olympic medals, and I was really impressed. I mean, that's a really tough golf course. He's come back in 29. I still can't believe it. Anyway,
KT, good to see you again. But I did actually wonder. What struck me was the contrast in Rory McIlroy's comments. 2016, he didn't go to Rio. He cited the Zika virus, a couple of them did, and it was very much perceived as a pretty weak excuse not to go. And yet after this one, 2024, he actually came out and said it felt like a major championship. The build-up and everything around it felt like a major. It felt like almost the unofficial 5th major. Do you think that status now, the Olympic golf tournament?
Well, I was lucky enough to commentate for Eurosport on the previous Olympic golf, which was in Japan. Getting up at 2 o'clock in the morning to commentate off tube. I hasten to add, I wasn't in Japan, and I think Rory's quote was for that. I think he battled for the silver medal, didn't he? He said, "I've never worked harder in my life to win a silver medal." It's terrific. And then who won that? Schauffele in Japan.
It's well established, and I think now it's found its place, hasn't it, in the Olympics? No doubt about that. And actually, Katie, you say you were commentating off tube in Tokyo, as it was. That was the COVID Olympics, wasn't it? Really, so you potentially would have been anyway. That might have been the way at that Olympics, because it was very different, and it was good to see in the golf in particular, but some of the other sports, the crowds back again. And do you think that added to the tournament a bit, having the fans back?
Oh, definitely, yeah. I mean, it's a huge thing for a golfer to have the response from the fans to every shot that they play. It means a heck of a lot of them. I don't care how seasoned they are. It's their feed. They feed off that. By the way, commentating in that COVID Olympics was quite something. I was just telling you, an aside. We weren't allowed to commentate in the same booth, the lead man and me. We had to dovetail without knowing what the person was going to say next. It was a heck of an experience. Very stressful for commentating on 4 hours when you don't know what the next person's going to say.
It's really interesting. I've heard lots of comments actually from athletes and broadcasters looking back on that Olympics and comparing it to Paris and just the difference. So that's another interesting example. That so you didn't know what the other person, how they were going to react when you with your co-commentator effectively.
Absolutely not. And Eurosport in London, there's probably 45 or 50 booths. So every set of commentators on every sport virtually couldn't do it in the same room. Wow. Which is a heck of a job. Fraser, you'll understand that.
Yeah, no, indeed. Yeah, Fraser, what was your favourite moment from Paris? We were on the air, weren't we, last Monday when Keely Hodgkinson won the 800 metres, and I very much agree with Katie. That's one of the all-time. I think when we look back on it now, away from the actual moment, that is one of the all-time Olympic runs from a GB athlete. It was sensational. So that would be my favourite moment as well. Anything else to put in the mix?
I thought from a TG point of view, Alex Yee winning gold in that men's
triathlon.
It was a men's triathlon race, wasn't it? Superb effort. He looked dead and buried. He was back on the run, wasn't he? About 12, 14 seconds down, like he was hanging on for silver. And he just surged. And you talked about the crowd noises as he closed down the leader on the line. I thought that was a superb, gripping race. And also, even though it ended up in silver for Team GB, I thought the quality of the women's heptathlon, Nafasia Tiam from Belgium, eventually winning 3 golds. And you had Katrina Johnson-Thompson, who produced, I think, a lifetime best in the 800 metres, a season's best in the javelin, and maybe another lifetime best elsewhere, who really turned up in the most pivotal event of her life and performed her very best, and still it wasn't enough. The quality of that competition was superb, and she's won. Sometimes silver can be very disappointing. I think the context and the situation is different for every athlete, but for her, she can actually go away saying she gave her best. She stood up more than she ever had before, and it still wasn't enough. But that was a quality competition.
KJT, absolutely superb athlete, I think, and that was one where you're really happy everything she's been through. That injury, of course, in Tokyo, to get that silver, I thought was brilliant, and what a test the heptathlon is as well. You just got to be so strong in so many disciplines. That was excellent. I from a non-Team GB point of view, I enjoyed the marathons, and I'm doing the Paris Marathon next April, so I had a vested interest. It's a slightly different route, but I did look. But the women's marathon on Sunday, Sifan Hassan won it. And going into the final kilometre, there were 4 athletes who were in contention to win the women's marathon. And after all those miles, but she'd run the 10,000 metres 2 days before, and the 5,000 metres 2 days before that. So the endurance and the recovery that's unbelievable to then go and turn in a marathon performance like that, because I can barely walk when I've done one of those. So I thought that was really, really good. On to LA, KT. I bet there's a chance you can commentate on the golf in LA. You won't be doing that off tube.
No, I'll be out there like a shot. Don't you worry. I've got friends out there, so I would really look forward to that if I get the call.
Excellent stuff. And maybe you could have Snoop Dogg as your co-commentator. That would be good fun, wouldn't it? Listen, We've got to leave it there, unfortunately. Fraser, Tom, thank you very much. Katie, thank you to you as well. Always good to see you. You are sticking around because it is the mood train and it is on the way in just a few moments. We'll see you next Monday. Good night.
Pure West Radio's It's a